Indians have always been knowledge oriented people. Indians have been mathematicians, very much thinkers. And so when India became independent in 1947, Prime Minister Nehru, set up institutes of higher learning, IITs, Indian Institute of Technologies. He set up five of them with the explicit purpose of producing the world class engineers. And I was lucky enough to get into one of those. So when Indians started to come to America, they were already smart engineers. Yeah, they had world class education already, and they found American environment very very easy and conducive, to their temperament.
The Immigrants Nation podcast needs your help. Share this show with other immigrants. Share what impacts you from this particular show. Here is what our listeners must also do to help this show. And yes, we do need your help. Share the show on TikTok and Instagram at Immigrant Nation, Facebook at the Immigrant Nation Podcast, and LinkedIn and YouTube at the Immigrant Nation Podcast. In today's show, we have Kanwal Rekhi. He came to America with a degree in engineering and the weight of a family's hope on his back. No money, no safety net, just a belief. In a Silicon Valley that he barely knew no one, he rewired the game, co-founding Excellent, helping build Novell, and becoming the first Indian American to take a company public on NASDAQ. But Kanwal Rekhi didn't stop there. He invested not just money, but faith in the next wave of immigrant dreamers. Today, we will talk a little bit about TIE. He mentored founders, he built TIE, and he challenged fear with freedom. Today, he's not just a venture capitalist, he is a movement, a mindset, a mirror to every immigrant who's ever wondered, do I belong? Will I make it? On this episode of the Immigrant Nation Pod, we sit down with the legend himself to talk money, mistakes, meaning of life, and what it really takes to turn a struggle into legacy. Mr. Kanwal, you took a startup from the stage of startup to public in about 7 years. As an immigrant struggling with identity, when you first landed in America, what part of your identity did you feel you had to leave behind, given most immigrants struggle with identity, and what part refused to stay hidden of that for you?
When I arrived in US, there was no internet. You know, there was no email, there was no video conference. So the connection to home was totally broken. The telephone was very expensive, $5 a minute to make a phone call. And $5 was your hourly wage as an engineer. So, and besides, my home in India didn't have a telephone. So the only means of communicating with family in India was through letters, and letters went by sea and came back by sea. So you write a letter and you get a response back 3 months later. Turnaround was 3 months later. There was no news of India in newspapers. There was no news of India on TV. So you were totally cut off from India. No Indian music, no Indian food. And for all purposes, you were on your own in a new country. So overnight you had to transform yourself. You had to learn to like American football, American baseball, American food, American music. Which we did. By the way, in my case, I married here. My wife, she just passed away a few months ago. Was American, and yeah. So I, yeah. So in some fashion, I had become fairly Americanized as an individual, enough to marry a person here. So for all practical purposes, we had left everything behind, and we had no connection left with India. it was 6 years, yeah, 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 before I went back to India for a visit in 1973. I was here for 6 years on my own before I went back. And I took my wife back to show India. India was still pretty much stuck in the mud in 73 when I went back. It was same India that I left behind in 1967, was not going anywhere. India was socialist. India had no jobs. It was. So from that angle, we had left India behind, and we were not connecting back to India very easily. Was another 6 years before I went back second time in 1979, and still India was not changing. So when I came back to do my startup in 1980-81, India, we had left India behind. And we were Americans. I was American. I was married here. I had children here, and so just to complete the story, I went back to India next time in I went back in 79, 80, and then 89. And there was some movement, but not much movement. And so I started this group called the Indus Entrepreneurs. TIE. TIE was to encourage our people to become entrepreneurs, to get into businesses, and we started the chapters of TIE in India, in Bombay, in Delhi, in Madras, in Bangalore, and we encourage people there to become entrepreneurs more and more. And by 1991, India was changing. India had left its socialism behind, and all of a sudden, there was a dynamism, and I was engaged very much with India. I had become a hero because I had become an entrepreneur in America. I had done really well. So when I traveled to India frequently. I traveled to India in 90s 2, 3, 4 times a year. And so I had become a very strong presence in India, giving the message of entrepreneurship, wealth creation, technology-driven growth. And you know what has happened to India now? India has become a powerhouse. So Indian Americans, like me, played a big part in helping transform India.
What was the role of TIE?
So TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs, we positioned this as a new freedom movement. Instead of becoming an employee, become an employer, become an entrepreneur. So the message was very clear to Indians. Hey, you can do it. People like me have gone to America. Ordinary people like me have gone to America and have done it well. Why can't we do that in India also? So TIE has become a movement, economic freedom movement. Now it has chapters all over India. It has chapters all over America too, by the way. It has about 70 chapters worldwide. And it's a self-help movement. It talks about the entrepreneurship. It provides the mentoring. It provides the inspiration. It provides the education, and in some cases, it also provides the funding, the initial seed funding. And so TIE has become a very large, network of people, and it's open to everybody. And by the way, we did launch a chapter in Nairobi also. There's a chapter in Nairobi, and we have chapters all over India. So it's
Very interesting. Okay, so if you don't mind, we probably will do a little bit of a pivot here, and just because um, in your process of identifying the opportunity that was happening when you decided to migrate to Silicon Valley, um, then let's just say the commercialization of computers and Wi-Fi or the internet was starting to take shape. In 2025, I feel like we're at that window again where we have artificial intelligence, and that opportunity is starting to mold or shape itself. How did you position yourself for success then, and what are the similarities of what you're seeing now in the marketplace that immigrants can take advantage of?
So I moved to Silicon Valley at the dawn of the computer chips business. Not because I was trying to become an engineer. I was looking for a job, and jobs were plentiful here in what was at then Santa Clara Valley, which became Silicon Valley. So I was here for a job, and I worked for 10 years before I was able to feel that I am good, and secure in my profession. 1981 was a watershed year. IBM PC was introduced in 1981, and the Wi-Fi came 10 years later. So there was this notion that IBM PC will revolutionize the offices. There will be a computer on every desktop, and we have mainframes that IBM was shipping. We have mini computers that digital equipment was shipping. We had Unix machines from all sorts of players. So the opportunity I saw in that revolution was to network all these machines together. And being a hardware engineer, I was able to design hardware to do that very quickly. So when there's a time of rapid change, when the paradigm is shifting away from the current paradigm to a new paradigm, lots of opportunities emerge for people to become entrepreneurs. By the way, the immigrants are very good at being entrepreneurs because they are used to change. They are used to handling the new environment. Because that's how they survive in America. So the next change came when we started to have the internet in mid-90s. There was enough networking done to become a basis of connecting them onto the internet. The dot-com era, if you remember, that's when the massive change happened, massive entrepreneurship happened. And that's when the Indians did really, really well. The Indians were very much part of the dot-com revolution. And of course, we have had rapid changes ever since. Social networks, the e-commerce. You can. There's been constant revolution, and now, of course, we have arrived in 2025, where a massive change is happening because of AI. AI is revolutionizing everything, just like the internet did. And just like the PC did before. So when there's a time of rapid change, the huge opportunities emerge. The change means that old order is being put aside, being replaced by a new order. New technology is finding a new, better way of doing things, and AI is starting to do that now, right? Some of the old stuff will disappear. So entrepreneurs are the change agents. They take that new technology, the new way of doing things, and they run with it. And so this is a massive entrepreneurial opportunity. And the immigrants, by the way, have no disadvantage. Because when you sell on the network, nobody knows who you are. on the other end of the deal. Yeah. So unlike the face-to-face dealing, the dealings on the network are sort of anonymous. So, like I mentioned earlier, immigrants have advantage in that they handle the diversity, they handle the change, they handle the adversity, yeah, much better than the non-immigrants. So, so I
Very interesting.
so I see this as a opportunity for immigrants from all parts of the world. Yeah, the the immigrants from India have done extremely well because they have had the education, they have had the motivation. Yeah, but immigrants from Eastern Europe are doing really well too. Yeah, and I have not seen too many entrepreneurs from Africa yet, but I think their time is coming. Their time is here. They need to do what we did it.
Mr. Kanwal, when you say you think immigrants from Africa's time is coming, what is the opportunity they're missing? And how do they rapidly deploy their resources to be able to identify and maximize the
Well,
opportunities?
at you have to become at a personal level, very confident, that you can do it. Before you do it, you have to feel that you can do it, right? Because you have to leave your job. You have to be able to sustain yourself, and you have to be very competitive, right? Yeah, I yeah we were Indians went through that one in I was the first one, but we went through that in early 90s in large numbers. The Indians jumped in, left their jobs, and proved themselves. So it's time. I think it's time for Africans to do the same thing. I am not on top of the details. Are the Africans coming to America? Are they technically savvy? Do they have the technical background? This is an information age. This is a technology-driven world. You have to have basic foundational knowledge. And so and eventually you also form.
So, in this instance, what is that? What is that basic foundational knowledge that is required to thrive in today's world?
So unlike before, where you had to become specialized, in in software, specialized in hardware, specialized in this day and age of AI. You have to be a lot more generalist, very good in math, very good in general knowledge, economics, very good in business fundamentals. Yeah, and because AI helps you do a lot of complex stuff, you know, that you don't need to know. So by the way, AI will help you write an app very quickly without having to write any code yourself. If you know what you want to do in your app, you can tell the AI to help you write the app. So the people who had specialized knowledge, they don't have a special advantage like they had about 10 years ago, 5 years ago. You have to be motivated, you have to be driven, you have to be good in math, you have to be good in business, you have to be aware of what the customers need. More general purpose knowledge of marketing, selling, numbers, which is a lot easier to get than the detailed technology knowledge. So when I use word foundational, I mean first principles, basic math. So the by the way, my experience with Nigerian students has been Nigerian engineers has been very good. They are very entrepreneurial, they are very motivated. I have not had much experience with Kenyans, but I'm sure they have a similar background.
Immigrants today are scared, they're confused, and do not feel a sense of belonging. There is almost a desperation in the air. How did you, being an outsider, an immigrant in Silicon Valley, become your greatest asset, or was it
Yeah,
your greatest wound?
yeah. So, so America has always had love-hate relationship with immigrants. Yeah, it's nothing new. In case of President Trump, it's a little bit more brazen, a little bit more open. But there has been always love-hate relationship. America needs immigrants. America needs smart engineers. Has always needed them. Always, has depended upon them. Yeah. So if you look past the immediate stuff, what President Trump is doing is not going to last forever. President Trump is not going to last forever. We have had, if you look at the history of immigration, the 1965 Act, Hart-Zarar Act, was very much in favor of immigration. But everything since then has been against immigration. There were laws in the 80s, which were sort of limited immigrations. When I applied for green card in 1969, after I finished my master's degree, I got my green card in 2 months, without a job. You apply for green card, you have a master's degree, you got green card like that. Yeah, yeah, which is now it takes 10 years to get your green card, right? Yeah, but we have had these ups and downs, and we will have these ups and downs. The America needs immigrants, especially the competent, that types like people from India, and now people from Africa. So you don't let anything bother you. You don't let anything stop you. Yeah, you don't. We belong here. I belong here. I've been here now 58 years. I'm married here. I produce thousands of jobs as an entrepreneur. And nobody can tell me that I don't belong here.
Very
I
interesting.
have not depended upon anybody or anything. Yeah. So eventually, if you are an entrepreneur, you don't depend upon anybody else. You are self-reliant.
Mr. Kanwal, you have invested in over 32 plus companies, a total of about $9.9 billion, and that's with a B. You have exited on and had massive exits with a 5x return on your investment or capital. That's impressive, sir. Was there ever a moment where you thought, I might lose it all? What did money mean to you then, and what does it mean for you now?
So by the way, I have done over 200 investments now. Yeah, and I've done well. The I'm not motivated by money alone. Money is nice to have. Money is a means to an end. Money is a reward for doing a good job. But I'm not motivated by money. And my initial motivation was to prove to myself and prove to others that I was as good as anybody. Yeah, I can do anything. So the so when I did my startup in early 80s, I was set out to prove to myself mostly, and then to the rest of the world that hey, I am as good as anybody out there. And when we became the when I became successful by late 80s, mid 80s, I became very successful after the IPO in 87. Money became non-issue. I had plenty to live on forever. So I wasn't driven to make more and more and more money. I was much more focused on paying back. I paid for a building at Michigan Tech, where I did my master's. There's a building named after me and my wife there for computer science building. And I paid for a building at IIT Bombay, where I did my undergraduate work. I was very focused on paying back, and also yeah, mentoring people. The Thai became my life, a life's passion in 90s, and our our last 30 years, I should use the word. Yeah, even though I was invested in the companies, in my mind I was mentoring people, I was encouraging people, and money was part of the thing I invested in people. I spent a lot more time mentoring them. So and there was a market feedback. My mentoring, my investments did pay off, and they still do pay off. But that's not what was driving me anymore. Yeah, yeah. Eh, I'm happy to see India emerging as a powerhouse. India becoming very entrepreneurial. India is the third largest entrepreneurial ecosystem in the world, and it's pretty soon will be third largest economy in the world. Yeah, it would have been unimaginable when I was growing up there that India will transform itself. But it's all driven by technology. It's all driven by entrepreneurship.
Mr.
So,
Kanwal, I want to
and I feel
say
pretty good. I feel pretty good as one of the people who was pushing for it.
fantastic. I was going to say that I feel you are the authority to speak to the success India is having today. And I want to say that you've contributed massively to that success where you've had a huge, significant turnaround for the population of India and also um, for American investors. For immigrants that are looking at the type of impact you've had in the world, what lessons do they need to learn from you on how they can contribute not just here in America but also in the countries they've come from so that we can continue to develop and grow in both spheres?
You know, the immigrants are the ultimate risk takers. They leave behind a familiar, comfortable environment, and they take this journey into unknown, and and they have to survive. So immigrants are the people who are sort of nomads, but also are the people who are able to make things happen, because for them to survive is a initial goal. Yeah, I mean, when I came to America, yeah, just to tell you a story about me in Chicago. When I came to America, I came with only $8 in my pocket, so there wasn't much money. So so when I landed in Chicago in 1968 summer, I had only $10 with me, and I went to a YMCA, and they said $4 a night. I said $4 a night, I can survive in Chicago for 2 days. I have $2 for the food. So I checked into the YMCA and I immediately left. And 2-3 blocks down the road, there was a sign that says "Help Wanted." And I went in there. I said, "Help Wanted." He says, "You ready to vote?" "Yes, I'm ready to vote." "Yeah, go back. Yeah, tell the person that Joe sent you." I went back into the kitchen, and they put me to work doing dishes. Yeah, so I did dishes. Yeah, first night I was in Chicago. Yeah, I didn't ask how much money. Yeah, what wages, what rate. Do you have work? And so when I finished my shift, they gave me $10. Yeah, $1.25 an hour. And I had a free meal, and I came out, and now I had $16 in my pocket, and my tummy was full. So so instead of 2 days, I could survive in Chicago 4 days. So I knew I will survive in Chicago. So summer of '68, I left Chicago to go back to Michigan Tech with $2,000 in my pocket. I worked 2 jobs a day. Yeah. So nobody was helping us. Nobody was telling us what to do. It was a survival instinct. And I was on my own. I was gonna make it, and so I have never looked back since then. Every day I used to wait up. How many days can I survive if I didn't work today? If I didn't make any money today? And at the end of the day, I want to see one more day than I had yesterday. So I always count how many days I can survive. And that has served me very, very well. So immigrants are ultimate survivors. They are ultimate self-motivators. Yeah, they have nobody to complain to. They have no fallback position, right? So that prepares you for life really well, really well. When you have no security, you become used to surviving in environment with no security.
Immigrants, if you're not just joining us on our conversation, he came to America with a degree in engineering and the weight of a family's hope on his back. No money, no safety net, just a belief, and of course, $8. He revolutionized how business is done in Silicon Valley as the first Indian American, and in 7 years was able to get his company to go public and on NASDAQ. But Kanwal Rekhi did not stop there. He invested not just money but faith in the next wave of immigrant dreamers. He mentored founders, built TAI, on and on and on. Mr. Kanwal, let's talk about mentorship. What got you to really look within and to start thinking, I need to start contributing into the lives of the next generation of Indian immigrants?
Yeah. So life for me was very lonely journey. When I decided to become an entrepreneur, everybody discouraged me. Indians are not entrepreneurial people. Indians are good tatties. Why do you want to do something you're not very good at? Why aren't you happy being an engineer? You're making good money. So everybody would discourage me from doing my startup. Who will sell? Who will do the marketing? Who will do the general management? Who will work for you guys? There was a notion that no white people will work for Indians. So it was a very lonely journey. There was nobody to inspire or encourage us, and so we did succeed in spite of all that. So when I started to feel that I have arrived and I'm doing well, I discovered the things had not changed much. The Indians were still being seen as a tatties. They were still seen as a non-managerial people. They were still seen as the people who couldn't sell or market. So I said, we need to change all that. I was seen by the people as an outlier, one of a type. Out of a billion people, you are an outlier. So we had to prove that I was not an outlier. So the whole idea of mentoring, inspiring people through TAI was rooted in my lonely journey, when nobody had any belief in me, nobody had any faith in me. And so we had to start telling people, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. And come and talk to me if you need any help, any advice. So the mentoring came out of a practical need for people, and so by early 90s, 93, 94, 95, the TAI phenomena in Silicon Valley was starting to work very, very well. If you go back and look at the history, by 94, 95, there was almost a revolution. In the Indians were becoming entrepreneurs in large numbers. The most famous example is Hotmail. Hotmail was started by Indian American, Sabir Bhatia. But there were hundreds of companies started by Indians in 94, 95, 96. And many of them succeeded. So it was by the end of 90s, when we were starting to establish ourselves as a very competitive people, very smart people, and that was inspiring people back in India also. So this had become a virtuous cycle. People were doing well, they were succeeding, and they were re-engaging back as mentors, as investors, to inspire more people. And that phenomena has carried on now 25 years later, 30 years later.
Where are other cultures that are immigrants missing out? Why is it that Indians have become very good at entrepreneurship and you find them in all areas of business, including over 13 Indian CEOs in Fortune 500 companies at the moment, not include thousands of doctors, thousands of teachers across the globe. What is it about Indians that really changed in your lifetime that Europeans, Africans, Asians need to learn from the Indian model?
Well, so the Indians have always been knowledge-oriented people. Indians have been, you know, very much mathematicians, very much thinkers, you know, yeah. And so when India became independent in 1947, Prime Minister Nehru, set up, you know, institutes of higher learning, IITs, Indian Institute of Technologies. He set up 5 of them with the explicit purpose of producing the world-class engineers. And I was lucky enough to get into one of those. So when Indians started to come to America, they were already smart engineers. They had world-class education already, and they found American environment very, very easy and conducive, to their temperament. So at universities they had an almost immediate impact. When I came to US, my professors thought I would need special help. Coming from India, my education might be subpar, but he was very pleasantly surprised to see my performance was not subpar. My performance was really, really good. And so by 70, 71, 72, at universities, Indians were starting to prove themselves. And again, like I said earlier, we were cut off from India. We were heads down. Yeah, study, compete, and the whole knowledge economy that was emerging was to our advantage because we were knowledge seekers. And so as the knowledge economy was becoming more and more dominant, the Indians had a huge advantage. And there are 5 million Indian Americans now in America. 25% of all the engineers in America are Indian Americans. 15% of all the doctors in America are Indian Americans. 40% of the doctors in rural America, the Wyomings and Idaho and Montana, are Indian Americans. 10% of all the professors in America, at universities are Indian Americans. So it's been almost a tsunami. You cannot, miss it, right? And so this is back to the point I made earlier. The Africa needs to go back to the basics. Indian success is built upon education, educating the young people in large numbers. Nothing else works. But nothing. You can have the minerals and you can have all that, but none of that really has the same lasting impact as the education does. So those initial 5 IITs now have become 30 IITs. India is producing largest number of doctors and largest number of engineers in the world right now every year.
You've made millions, if not billions, in income. But what's the biggest money lie immigrants tell themselves based on your assessment? And if I had, in a very humble way, say about 5 grand to 10 grand, where should I start to invest and how should I invest? Do I start with educating self or should I just jump into the marketplace and start to compete?
So by the way, I'm not very good at stock market investing. Yeah. So I let other people manage my money. Yeah, I am not. My money is not made in stock market. My money is made in startups where I invest and mentor people. But that's a very high risk, things. You can't do that with $5,000 to $10,000. If you are going to invest in, $5,000 to $10,000, you're much better off buying mutual funds, ETFs. Yeah, the the technology driven stuff has a high growth. It's high risk, but it has a high growth and high returns, right? So again, back to the point I made. By the way, the Indian Americans are twice as wealthy as an average American. Our income of Indian Americans in the U.S. is twice the income of the average white American. Mostly because we are professionals, we are doctors, we are engineers, we are entrepreneurs, we are professors. 70% of Indians in America have postgraduate degree. Are a professional degree. So our success is based upon education, by and large. And by the way, it took 50 years after independence for India to emerge, with enough engineers and programmers to start moving. So there is no shortcut. There was no shortcut. Same has to happen in Africa. You have to invest in your people, build universities, build technical institutes, and next generation, will benefit. Not this generation, right? This generation is investing in the next generation, and there's no other way. There's no other way. And what we have done now with mentoring and inspiring people to try is again helping the next generation, investing in next generation. So there's a long-term play. By the way, China has done even better than India, but China has done that at the expense of freedom of its people. China, has built a nice economy, but India has done, nice, with the fully free society. The freedom of people is absolute. Democracy. India has gone through 18 election cycles. Has 18 change of government, through elections, right? So China has done well, but China has done at the expense of freedom of its people. India has done, with democracy intact. So there's a long-term horizon. There's an investment in next generation. There's a belief that we are as smart a people as anybody, but we have to wait. We have to be patient. You cannot believe that overnight change will come. Overnight change is always not very good. Overnight change, the revolutions, is not very good. It takes away, freedom. It takes away happiness. The I don't see any place, Iran, revolution, very smart people took away the freedom of people. Iran has been suffering. When you look at the India has become this shining example in the world. The only country which has kept its democracy intact since freedom, has invested in its people, and is finally emerging as a powerhouse. It's been 80 years almost, since India's independence, 78 years. By the way, it's my lifetime. I was born in 1945. So I saw this whole change happen right in front of my eyes. And we came to America because that's where the opportunity was. And the people in India didn't tell me that I was being a traitor to India. We came to America because we were free people. We did well here. We went back and helped made change there. So that whole love of your country, is only possible, you know, because you respect what you see there. The India has maintained its independence and its freedom. Yeah,
Mr.
as you people have.
Kanwal, you have mentored hundreds of people. So tell us about one person you really poured into, what they learned from you, and in return, what did you learn from them?
So I have mentored thousands of people, not hundreds, thousands of people. So there was a professor at Harvard University, Professor Dorothy Leonard, and she wrote a book, yeah, yeah, about 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, the name of the book was The Knowledge Coaches, and she studied four people. Professor Dorothy Leonard. You can do the search on the internet. The Knowledge Coaches, and one of the four people she studied was me, and she yeah, taught to people I mentored, and then taught to people they mentored, to see how the knowledge was flowing. And she wrote, that my message, to people was very straightforward. Head down, put your best into it, take a risk, and if you need some advice and help, come back to me, but don't make it happen. So there are many people, K.B. Chandrasekhar was one who did the Exodus communications. He and B.B. Jagadish, they did the Exodus communications, where I mentored them. I invested in that company. Exodus became very large, very successful company, and they went on to do several startups themselves after Exodus, and they went on to do mentoring like I was doing. Raju Reddy, of Sierra Atlantic, is my favorite one. Raju, I invested in his company in 1995. I mentored him, but then he built a very large company, and then he went on to become, yeah, yeah, social entrepreneur. And he started this foundation in India, where he went back to his city near Hyderabad, and helped transform the rice farming in that area by bringing the new ideas, new technology, new way of doing things. And so he's helping farmers now become twice, three times more productive than they were before he showed up. So once you have achieved the financial success yourself, once you have taken care of your family, and its future needs, you are freed now to do things beyond yourself and your family. You have resources, you have confidence, and that's what's happening in India. Enough people are doing really well, that they are plowing back their knowledge, their money into helping next generation. That's how this thing ratchets up, and that's what I did, and that's what people are doing in India right now. So once you start to produce wealth, there's a surplus to go around beyond your family's needs.
Looking back, let's talk about mistakes and regrets. What are some of those for you?
It's hard for me to think of too many big mistakes. I've done too well over a very long period, right? My family has done well, my kids have done well, my wife has done well, my brothers. By the way, I did help all my brothers and my sisters to immigrate to America. So we have a very large Rekhi clan in America. I sponsored 5 brothers and a sister and their families to migrate to America. I put them through education. The next generation of the kids, my kids and my nephews and nieces, they are doing really well, because they got to America earlier than I did. They did their education in America. So I don't have too many regrets. Mistakes. I can say I should have started earlier as an entrepreneur. Maybe 5 years earlier. and yeah, yeah. I can't think of too many things I would change. Yeah, I settled. I stayed with it. I did well. I plowed back. I paid forward to my family. I paid forward to the country. I paid back to America. Yeah, I, like I said, I endowed a building and a school at Michigan Tech. Yeah, so it wasn't that I paid back to India only. I paid back to America, for being nice to us. So so I can't say that I have too many regrets in my life.
You are one of a few, and your impact is felt the world over. While you may not have a lot of regrets, what are some of the mistakes that, as an entrepreneur, really took a job
Oh,
to you?
okay. So, so one thing I've learned:
Yes,
you don't you don't want to do your startup, your entrepreneurial journey with family and friends. You
agreed.
want to find the best partners. The problem with family and friends is that you lose your objectivity. You tolerate their mistakes. You overlook their shortcomings. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to become very hard-nosed person. You want to find the best partners. Yeah, family and friends are fine, but they are not yeah the people that you want to work with if you are becoming an entrepreneur. Because you want to compete, you want to not tolerate any lack of performance. You want to be very objective about performance. You can't tell your brother, hey, your performance sucks. Yeah, you can't fire your brother, right? If his
Yes.
performance is not there. So I tell people, when you're in business, you have to be a businessman. You know, no emotions, no feelings. You have to be very objective. You have to be surgical in your approach. You have to look at the performance, look at the numbers. And make your decisions based upon hard data, right? So
Yes.
which by the way I did. I did have friends as my partners. It didn't work out very well. They were fired by the board. And once they were fired by the board, things are really good. Yeah, for me, because all of a sudden I was freed up. Yeah, from being sympathetic to friends. Yeah, sympathy doesn't take you anywhere. Yeah,
Yes.
performance does.
You migrated from India, and obviously came to the US, and you went through a phase where there was loneliness. But obviously, you were able to overcome that phase, and it seems like the village came to you, and the village surrounded you, because there's not a single individual who succeeds as much as you have without having a village around you. Walk us to understanding, how do you choose leaders out of the village who are aligned to your vision, so that you can continue to have a significant impact and not allow villagers around you who clog the vision?
So every village, every environment has leaders and followers. Yeah. The so just to give you some numbers, only
Mhm.
1 to 2% of the population at large is entrepreneurial. Yeah. So 98 to 99% of the people are not entrepreneurial. You have to accept that fact. Yeah. First, you have to prove that you belong to that 1 to 2% yourself. Which was the motivation that I had when I did my startup. Am I entrepreneurial enough to build a company from scratch and make it happen, right? And then you cannot turn around and assume that the people you're mentoring are in that 1 to 2%. You have to assume they are in that 98 to 99%. So you have to become very, very hard nosed and selective. You have to put monkey on their bat. Yeah, why should I waste time on you? Yeah, if yeah, so when I work with people, I have to make sure that they are as motivated or more motivated than the average person. They have to prove to me that they are deserving of my time and my energy and yeah. There's no sympathy. There's no freebie. I only have limited time. I have only limited energy. I want to find the best possible people. Yeah, yeah. And I don't want to decide who is emerging leader and who is not. They have to decide. They have to prove it to me. Yeah. So I basically a little bit careless, a little bit hard nosed, but that's what it takes. That's what it takes. Yeah. So 1 to 2% of the population is entrepreneurial. Who is going to succeed and who is going to fail is driven by the people and their own motivation. Yeah. The entrepreneurial journey is a very lonely journey. You put yourself through hardship. 2, 3, 4, 5 years of hardship. Sub market salary, longer hours, no fun, no going to movies, no going to football games. You have to do is a self-selection. Nobody can tell you to put yourself through hardship. So one of the things we've done at TAI, you have to opt in. I don't tell people to join TAI. You have to opt in. You have to come and prove to us that you're deserving of my attention, my resources, my time. The leaders float up. They emerge. Nobody makes anybody a leader.
How do you identify who can be a good leader then?
I thought I just went through that one. Yeah.
So you have separated an entrepreneur leader from a typical individual. You've created that borderline of.
There's no difference. All sorts of leaders are entrepreneurs in their own way. To become a entrepreneur, you have to be a leader of people. You have to get people to work for you. Mm-hmm. They have to want to work for you. They have to believe in you. All leaders are by definition are entrepreneurs. All entrepreneurs by definition are leaders. The notion that you should be a leader of people, a political leader, I tell them political entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. They're business entrepreneurs, they're social entrepreneurs, they're political entrepreneurs. The leadership still requires self-motivation, self-driven, a little bit of charisma, a lot of hard work, and of course, the attitude to succeed, attitude to make sure that nobody around you is left behind, right?
Yes.
So when I talk about entrepreneurs, they are natural born leaders, with a little bit more business skills, than the others.
Very interesting. If I can put you in an assumptive situation, you have an opportunity to speak to a young immigrant graduate just coming out of college and preparing themselves to go into the workforce. What are some of the fundamental values that you would like to impact to them?
So it depends on what you want to do in life, right? But I tell people have a long-term plan where you want to be 10 years out. where you want to be 5 years out, where you want to end up, 15 years out, 20 years out, and start behaving to achieve those goals. Don't rush. You know, you're not going to be left behind. The notion that a window will close, a world will change, world will still be here, windows will still open. You have to prepare yourself. I worked for 9 years before I decided to become an entrepreneur. By the time I decided to become an entrepreneur, I was a top-notch engineer, making very good money, and doing really good work. I was super confident as a person. I had prepared myself really well. I had taken courses in business. I had taken courses in law at University of Santa Clara and Stanford University, even though I was an engineer. So I had my vision opened up to see what it takes to become a business person. So prepare yourself for what you want to become. There's no such thing as becoming a professional athlete without going out and preparing yourself, getting fit physically. So do the stuff that you need to do. Have patience. Your time will come. When I was ready to become an entrepreneur, I was ready. I was willing to give up my job. I was willing to give up my salary. I had enough preparation done. I had enough money saved. I could last for 2 years without a paycheck. That was part of the plan. So you plan. You decide what you want to be 5 years out, 10 years out, and then you train yourself to get there. There's no magic. Of course you have people like Bill Gates, people like Mark Zuckerberg, you have people like Michael Dell, but there are few, a handful of them. Most entrepreneurs are like me. They take 5-10 years to get ready. Very few of them are dropouts. All those names I mentioned were Steve Jobs. They were all dropouts from college. They all dropped out and became entrepreneurs. But it doesn't mean that dropping out of college is a qualification for becoming an entrepreneur. Some people are exceptionally good. Some people are exceptionally lucky. But most of us have to go through the process of the education. College also gives you a plan B. In case you didn't succeed as an entrepreneur, you still have a good opportunity to get a good job, right?
Yes.
So preparation is what's required. 5 years, 10 years. My advice to people is college plus 5 years of experience is a good place to start as an entrepreneur.
Fantastic.
You're 25,
Fantastic.
26. I suppose that we have had 75 minutes, right?
Yes, we're almost at the top of the hour. Let's touch a little bit on spirituality before we wind up. What do you know for sure about the immigrant spirit that you did not know when you began the journey of entrepreneurship as an immigrant?
So immigrants are restless. They want better than what's available. They are willing to put them through hardship to achieve what they are looking for. They are patient. They are willing to spend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years to find their footing, to establish themselves. So immigrants are special people. They are special people. And the countries which welcome immigrants like America, they do very, very well. They are highly motivated, highly qualified, self-driven, and people who make a big difference, right? So this notion that immigrants are freeloaders, that some of these new politicians talk about. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. The history of America is immigrants have done really well for themselves and for America. And I have a special respect for immigrants. And the the countries. By the way, the India welcomed immigrants for longest period. India is very diverse country only because it was very welcoming of immigrants for longest period. Yeah, but country like Japan, Japan is stagnant. Japan is stagnant. Yeah, Japan is shrinking. Yeah, because it's not been welcoming of immigrants. Yeah, Japan under the current setup. By the way, Japan was 70 million people in the year 1900. It reached 110 million people in year 2000, and it will be back to 70 million people in the year 2100. It's already been declining rapidly. Yeah, and society which is aging, which is not renewing itself. The England is very entrepreneurial, because it has welcomed immigrants from Africa, immigrants from India in large numbers, and which are revitalizing England, right? Yeah, America is very entrepreneurial.
Fantastic.
Immigrants.
Very good. Very good. We immigrants understand our role in our society, we understand our role in our community, and we understand the call of and the reasons as to why we migrated. Today at the Immigrant Nation Pod, we have been speaking to Mr. Rahi. Mr. Rahi, please tell our listeners where they can find you on social media.
Well, so you can definitely find me Kanwal Rekhi, Rekhi, on LinkedIn. I am pretty prolific on LinkedIn. I write almost on a daily basis. I'm also on Facebook. Yeah, but my best work is on LinkedIn, and recently I have started to put some posts also on the Instagram. But if you really want to follow me, and I also have my own website, kanwalrekhi.com, where I have hundreds and hundreds of my blogs.
Kanwal, thank you. Thank you so very much because you made the time to join us here at the Immigrant Nation podcast. You are the reason as to why we have these conversations. Your success is our success. It's a challenge to all of us immigrants that we can do better to be able to continue to develop and improve the communities that we migrate to. Again, thank you for making the time for us here at the Immigrant Nation podcast.